Welcome to Business 360. This lovely Wednesday morning, we'll be looking at business stories, starting with one of the biggest stories around the world right now. Elon Musk is no longer the world's richest man after a sharp drop in the value of his shares in the electric car company Tesla this year. Well, according to Forbes and Bloomberg, Musk had been overtaken by the top short by Bernard Arnault, the chief executive of luxury goods group LVMH. Musk is the chief executive and the largest shareholder in Tesla, $178 billion, which is about 152 billion pounds. Meanwhile, Bernard Arnault has a value of $188 billion. That's a difference of $10 billion. I do know that Elon Musk will find his way back to the top. He is a thriving businessman. Coming to the United States lawmakers have backed TikTok, the social media app known for short viral videos with concerns about national security. The bipartisan bill is the latest move in the U.S. against the company, which is owned by the Chinese tech giant Binance. Last month, the head of it has more than 100 million users in the U.S., called the measure a politically motivated ban that will do nothing to advance the national security of the United States. Even back here in Nigeria, the Nigerian government warned users of TikTok to be aware that there are some malwares that could steal their data, even back here in Nigeria. So this is a general warning, not just for the US, but for Nigerians as well. United States authorities have charged Sam Bankman-Fried. This is another very big story around the world, especially in the world of cryptocurrency. The former FTX boss was arrested on Monday. And according to Security and Exchange Commission Chair Gary Sengler, Bankman-Fried built a house of cards on a foundation of deception. That's platforms to comply with US laws. Well, we're all looking at how this would pan out in the long run. Talking about cryptocurrencies, Binance has registered $1.9 billion of withdrawals in the past 24 hours, according to blockchain data firm Nansen on Tuesday, which was yesterday, as the world's biggest cryptocurrency exchange said it had temporarily paused withdrawals of the USDC stablecoin. Binance last week tweeted a so-called proof of reverse report by audit firm Mazar. The report showed its holdings of Bitcoin exceeded customers' deposits on a single day in November. The $1.9 billion withdrawal of tokens based on the Ethereum blockchain marked the largest daily outflow over a 24-hour period since June 13. The Nansen data showed an Coming back to Nigeria, the Nigerian Stock Exchange Group has revealed that foreign investors drew a total sum of 171 billion naira from the capital markets between January to October this year. The Nigerian Exchange disclosed this in its monthly foreign portfolio investment report published on its website. You can actually go to its website to find this report. This implies that this portfolio investors left just 6.83 billion naira of their investments in Nigerian equities. In 2021, the foreign portfolio investors FPI staked naira. Away from a summary of what's been happening in the Nigerian Stock Exchange between January and October, let's see what's going on in the global economy, starting with the US Economic Index, where inflation rate actually slows down than expected to 7.1%. The annual inflation rate in the US slowed for a fifth straight month to 7.1% in November of 2022 from 7.7% in October. This is the lowest since December last year and below market forecast of 7.3%. Inflation depicts a general rise in the prices of goods and services, and the strongest upward pressure continues to come from the service sector, where prices of goods are seen to soften due to improvement in supply chains. Despite the slowdown, price increase across the economy. With the Fed's rate hike coming in sometime this week, a lot of people have predicted that the Fed might increase their rate hikes again, be to try to fight inflation. But right now, inflation stands at 7.1% in the US. Well, let's see a chart representing the US inflation rates. Don't take my words for it. Let's have a view of what the chart looks like. Well, we can see right here that as of January 2022, the chart showed inflation in the United States at 5.4%, a slow climb to 9%, 9.1%. In fact, this not just very slow, it's quite sharp from 7 to 9%. And I'm very sure this happened between February and March during the invasion of Ukraine. And we see this happening. The war in Ukraine right now, it has affected a lot of commodities around the world. As at October, it was quite high, but right now in the United States, we can see inflation coming down right now, back from 11% to 10%. And with all the policies by the United States Fed, we do hope that inflation in the United States will come down, because I always say on the show that the inflation, the country of Africa, South Africa's 10-year bond yield eases to a near 2-week low. South Africa's 10-year government bond yielded around 10.3%. This is the lowest since November 30th, after the majority of South Africans' parliament voted not to initiate impeachment proceedings against President Cyril Ramaphosa over alleged misconduct and violation of oath of office. Investors were spooked in recent weeks by the uncertainty surrounding the fate of Ramaphosa, as in when the agriculture market, wheat prices actually rebound from a 14-month low right now. Wheat prices rose to $7.4 per bushel from the 14th-month low of 7.0, halted exports of Ukraine wheat. Ukraine and Russia accounted for nearly 30% of global wheat exports before the Russian invasion. Recently signed extension to the agreement between Russia and Ukraine that guarantees a trade corridor for vessels carrying wheat out of the Ukraine and Black Sea ports. Still strong supply. Also, the harvest in top exporter Russia was the highest on record in the current marketing year, extending competition into North American markets. Elsewhere, rainfall in Argentina eased concerns that drought would damage crops. Turkey morning rebounding from a 7-month low. But in the agricultural market, we see wheat selling at $721 per bushel. As at this morning, it is a depreciation, I'll be saying, at negative 2.85%. We also see soybeans exchanging or selling at $1,469 per bushel this morning. Another commodity that's quite depreciating in the market is lumber at $406 per 1,000 board feet. Other commodities also orange juice, but we see other commodities appreciating in the market. Rice is appreciating in the market. Canola going at 878 Canadian dollars per ton. We also see other commodities. Cotton doing quite well in the market. We've seen a growth in the agricultural market from Monday, from the beginning of the week, and we've seen a steady growth in the agricultural market, and we do hope that before the end of the week we would have much better positivity in the agricultural market. Moving away from agriculture, let's see what's going on in the metal market, talking about what gold and silver and all other commodities in the metal market are doing. Talking of gold, gold is depreciating this morning, going for $1,808 per ounce. We also see it depreciating at the negative 0.12%. We also see another commodity, iron ore, depreciating, selling at $110 per ton, the depreciation of 3 basis points. But other commodities in the market are faring quite well. Silver is appreciating in the market, 0.006 basis points, an appreciation. All the same, you might say it's tiny, but well, it is an appreciation. Another commodity is steel. Steel is not going down, it's not going up in the market. All the same, we would still say it is a positive outlook in the metal market this morning. Moving to the energy markets, the one that contains a lot of Nigerians, talking about crude oil, WTI, talking about the Brent crude. Let's see how the Brent crude exchanging at $80 per barrel this morning. Well, it's depreciating. As of yesterday, it was faring quite better than this, but it's depreciating as of this morning, a depreciation of negative 0.06%. All the same, we also see crude, the WTI, actually appreciating in the market this morning, going for $75 per barrel. Other commodities, gas, for the whole week, gas has been depreciating. The TTF gas has been depreciating. The UK gas has also been depreciating in the market. We know that it's winter season, so yes, there is need for gas, there is need for coal, there is need for a lot of these heating products. But we see them actually, it's a market, so it's not up, it's not down. We do hope for more positivity in the energy market in the long run, at least before the end of the week. Moving to what's going on in foreign exchange, the South African yen appreciated sharply towards 17.2 against the US dollar, moving away from an over 1 month low of 17.6 hit on December 12, after South Africa's ruling African National Congress stopped an impeachment process against President Cyril Ramaphosa, blustering his campaign for re-election as party leader. The currency also found support on a weaker dollar. Meanwhile, the South African Reserve Bank lifted the repo rate by another 75 basis points in November, marking the 6th consecutive hike in a year, and it is poised to prolong its most aggressive interest rate hiking cycle until it is confident inflation will return to the 4.5% target midpoint in its forecast horizon. Not just South Africa, but others on the show, we always talk about it because it is something that's recurrent. It's not a one-time thing, it's a recurrent situation. Well, moving to the United States, softer than expected US CPI data pushes the Australian dollar to a 3-month high. I'm not going to be talking about this. Dan Deming has more on this on his Forex market commentary. Let's hear it.
In today's FX markets, let's take a look at the Australian dollar as it's moving higher today. The Australian is 905, so taking the 69 handle today at 0.6905 in the futures market. And when you look at some of the driving factors today, I think there's a couple things to point to, but the primary driver is the release of the US CPI data this morning. We did see dollar going down to multi-month lows. And with that, we're seeing a strong react. And couple that with some of the general trends the markets have realized over the last couple of months. When you look at just the dollar losing some strength and some of these major FX markets coming off the lows, continuing to realize further upside. And looking at the Australian dollar at that 0 spot, seeing a reaction.
That's Dan Deming's impression on how the US dollar is faring against the Australian dollar this morning. But let's not take his word for it. Let's have an outlook on how the Australian dollar is actually doing against the US dollar this morning, and a quick outlook on the Euro USD market. If we could have that as soon as possible, we would like that. Looking the market, we would see that the Australian dollar is actually appreciating against a weaker US dollar this morning, exchanging at 0.68 US dollars. And other currencies in the market, the European, in fact, as it stands, the US dollar is the weakest in the market this morning. As we can see, the US dollar is practically struggling against other currencies in the market, the euro, the pound. A lot of commodity, a lot of countries are beginning to ask that commodities be bought in their own currency rather than the US dollar. Will it affect the dominance of the US dollar generally in the global markets? Well, we are seeing the US dollar weakening against other currencies in the global market, as we can see from this outlook. Well, let's see what's going on with the Nigerian currency. If the US dollar is actually overpowering the Nigerian currency, if it's weaker against other currency, we're hoping that the Nigerian currency can actually do better against the Nigerian currency. The Nigerian currency is gaining against the US dollar this morning, exchanging at 446 naira per dollar this morning. Also, we see it appreciating The euro is also appreciating, depreciating rather, exchanging at 468 naira per euro. Against yesterday, it was I think 453 naira, but it's depreciating to 464 naira. And the pounds, the naira is faring better against the pounds this morning, exchanging at 546 naira. And then against the Australian dollar faring well against the US dollar. But the naira is also, doing quite well against the Australian dollar, exchanging at $306 naira per dollar this morning. So yes, I, for one, am super excited at the fact that a lot of policies are being put in place to try and strengthen the naira in the global market, and we see that some of them are actually taking shape and beginning to make sense. Away from the naira market, let's see what's going on with the cryptocurrency market. I know that a lot of people would like to know what's going on in the digital market, but especially talking about the Bitcoin that has been practically fluctuating for a while now, but right now Bitcoin is exchanging at $17,832. That is and will be spiked and high by this particular good news. Also, Ether is appreciating in the market at $1,322 this morning. Well, Binance is already having its own shakiness. We already talked about the controversies surrounding Binance, so I'm not surprised to see Binance depreciating in the markets. The Wonder Kid Ripple is also depreciating in the markets. There is appreciating in the markets. There is trying to, from what I'm saying, there is trying to be like a new Wonder Kid on the block. And I would ask people, I would advise people to have a look at that particular currency. Asian equity markets were mixed today as investors cautiously awaited the U.S. Federal Reserve's interest rate hike in the market, where it is expected to moderate its aggressive tightening campaign, but point to a higher peak for rates. Shares in overnight. Meanwhile, Hong Kong and mainland China stocks struggled to gain traction as a key economic policy meeting in China was delayed due to a surge. Nigerian capital market lost 24.8 billion naira following the dip in equity capitalization. Of the shares dropped from 26.63 trillion naira to 26 at over 48,853.54 points. Smart Products Nigeria led the gainers list with a 10% rise in share price, moving from 20 kobo to 22 kobo per share. Square topped. Now Sterling Bank led the day's trading volume with 31.61 million shares valued at 43.02 million naira. Well, at this point, we have Sports Central is up next. Many thanks for watching. I am Ididion Martin.